Our guest on Leaders Learning from Leaders today is Dr. Deborah Wortham, a distinguished educator, author, and speaker with over 4 decades of experience in transforming educational institutions. She has served as superintendent in multiple school districts, including most recently the Roosevelt Union Free School District in New York, where she led the district from takeover status to good standing status. In 2024, Dr. Wortham received AASA's Women in Leadership Award. She now leads Wortham Educational Enterprises, whose mission is to empower educational leaders, teachers, and students by providing innovative solutions and executive coaching. Her recent book, Setting the Atmosphere: Beliefs, Practices, and Protocols for Faith-Filled Leaders, was written for educational leaders, teachers, principals, and superintendents who face the daily challenge of creating, implementing, and sustaining systems of belief, practices, and protocols. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you so very much, Steve. How are you today?
I'm great and delighted to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Since you've had the opportunity to be superintendent in several districts across your career, I'm wondering if you might give us some insights as to things you learned from your earlier superintendencies that were important later on.
Yeah, and even before that, because I think that the superintendency is really a culmination of all of your beliefs, your practices that you acquired throughout your career. And so I'd like to start with the classroom because as a superintendent, my district was the largest classroom I ever taught.
Mm.
And as a classroom teacher, starting initially, I was just married and relocated to another state. So I was new at everything, new husband, new job, new state. And I pretty much formed the isolation club. I was the president of the isolation club. Go in my classroom, close my door, and teach my students. And I realized that, and I'll agree with John Maxwell's uh, 17 indisputable laws of teamwork. I came across those 17 laws. And the one law was the law of significance. And the law of significance is one is too small a number to achieve greatness. And I started thinking about that and I added it to my repertoire and I started embracing the expertise of the other teachers on my team and embracing just the parents and bringing them into the fold. And I realized the merit and worth of collaboration. Collaboration, creating unity throughout the district and the community. That event ultimately led me to be elementary teacher of the year for Baltimore City. But that event expanded my horizons. And no longer am I a member nor president of the Isolation Club, but my best thoughts are our best thoughts. What we come up with together. It is a wonderful, wonderful part of my journey to the point that I wrote a chapter in the book Failure is Not an Option on collaboration. There, it is the Chateaubriand of leadership. So, collaboration, that is what I would say that I learned in my earlier years that really enhanced and moved me in a different trajectory as a superintendent. No isolation, collaboration.
It's I'm smiling as I listen to you say that because just today I was writing a piece on leaders supporting people in times of pressure, like many schools are in today.
Mhm.
And one of the pieces I hit on was that there's a natural tendency when people feel that pressure to pull back with to that alone isolation, that like somehow that's where the survival is, when
Right,
actually it's the reverse behavior. And
right.
so leaders need to be able to step in to create that. So it was really reinforcing that you laid that out, and it makes total sense. And
Absolutely.
I love the idea of your biggest classroom when you become superintendent.
Exactly. I, in my heart, I always said that I was the student's superintendent and that seeing the district, what can we learn together? How can we learn together? I think if there was a grievance for superintendents, they would probably complain, she always wants us with her. She likes us being with her. And so, and oh my goodness, during the pandemic, when we were all baptized with Zoom, that was the best introduction for collaboration
Yeah.
with it is the Chateaubriand of leadership collaboration.
So I know that you have a history of moving school districts, and when I read about the work in Roosevelt Union Free District from state takeover to good standing status, I'm wondering if you'd just highlight I'm sure there were tons of challenges, but I'm wondering if you'd highlight a couple of the big ones and steps that you took to tackle those.
Well, I always say to myself and to everyone, when you accept a position, it has to align with your belief, your skill set, what you believe, what's your contribution to that particular position. And even more so with serving as superintendent. I was superintendent in five districts. And with each one, I had to tell myself, this is the marriage. This is what we need to do together. So when John King, who was the commissioner at that time, when he came to Roosevelt, the board had just received their power to hire a superintendent after 12 years, because for 12 years, the state ed department appointed the superintendent. And on this very day, John King said, I am turning this district over to you, Deborah Wortham, the superintendent. I could shake in my boots, but I didn't have time. What I realized at that time was a culture of low expectations. When you would say, hi, welcome to where are you serving as superintendent? At Roosevelt, oh, what's, oh, honey, I'm praying for you. Well, great, thanks. It was a culture of low expectations. It was embedded in the absolute fabric, Roosevelt being the only district that was ever taken over by New York State. But also on that day, John King said to me, you must create systems. He said, in our time here, we weren't able to put systems in place. So you go with a culture of low expectations. And culture means the way we do business, the way we do business, low expectations. Everyone on the planet knew and believed that Roosevelt had low expectations. And so there was another gift. And I'm going to circle back to knowing that you're in the right place at the right time. John King gave me the book, Harold Dweck's book on growth
Mhm.
mindset. I thought I died and went to heaven because I married her work. He also introduced New York State to the philosophy of efficacy by Jeff Howard. Then I knew I died twice and went to heaven twice because my dissertation is about growth mindset, the philosophy of efficacy. I studied 250 schools to disprove that efficacy and growth mindset, that it didn't work. It was a bunch of malarkey. But that's not what I found. What I found was that these soft skills are the 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 breakfast of school improvement. Wow, I like that. Breakfast of school improvement. And so we thought to change the culture, the way that we did business, from having low expectations to believing that we were not a school in a district and takeover for 12 years, but that we were absolutely the best on Long Island. And we lied. We started this hashtag by saying Roosevelt rising, that we had risen to the top of the charts. We were lying, but it became a self fulfilling prophecy that we had risen to the top. All I had to do was walk through the district and say Roosevelt, and everyone would say rising. If I was in the mall, and this is true, and I'm walking in the mall and I would hear Roosevelt from somewhere, I never had to look around, and I would just say rising. It was a part of the fabric. So we created systems, but systems of belief. And we documented those systems. Everything we did was a part of creating a living legacy, a living legacy. So every day we lived that we are rising, and what we were doing was absolutely fantastic. Bridging the gap. For instance, the relationship between central office, um, data, assessment, attendance, registration, that relationship to graduation rate. There is a connection, but you had to believe it and see it in order to operationalize it. We believed in educating the whole child. So we reversed the culture of low expectations. We embraced the belief of growth mindset and the philosophy of efficacy. And we embraced educating the whole child and staff. We wanted staff, students, and staff to be healthy, safe, supported, engaged, and challenged. That is it. We married those five areas: healthy, mentally, physically, spiritually, safe from bullying, safe from negative thinking, no stinking thinking, supported. There were children who had just come to the country and they said, some of us don't speak English. Will you support us? Now, this is high, but this is support. So we practice carrying support. What's on your plate of support? How will you support our young people and our adults. That was a summary of what was in my heart, what I believed, what I believed about the community, and what I believed about the staff and the students who entered in. You have the privilege of believing, privilege, knowing who you are. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. I did a recording, the superintendent's message, every day, every
Wow.
day, less than 3 minutes, every day. Roosevelt, rising. This is your superintendent, Dr. Wortham. How are you today? Did you know that smart is not something you are? Smart is something you get. Every day, I want you to find out how great you can be. Fajigabee. Fajigabee is the acronym for find out how great you can be. It became who we are. In 2.5 years, we exited school improvement. We went from state takeover to good standing, all schools. Over time, our graduation rate went from 68%. And if you're dyslexic, then it goes to 86%. I love that. 68% to 86%. And we can say how we did it, and we can do it over and over and over and over. No more low expectations. Roosevelt, I say.
So I had jotted some questions down, and I was going to ask you a question about building equity. It sounds to me like that's built into everything you just said. It's that same belief.
Absolutely. Even when it comes to instruction, we did embrace the direct instruction model. We did talk about the fact that the I do, we do, you do. The teacher does the I do. That's the teacher's opportunity to demonstrate the skill set that's second to none. This is your opportunity to teach in the finest manner. And then we do. Our students then get a chance to work in groups and teams in uh, manners that where they can have 17 different groups in one classroom. So at that point, when they finish or complete the segment on we do, then they go into you do. Now, if students aren't ready to go to the you do, then that's where the teacher reteaches using different strategies, modalities, etc. So it's all built in together for everyone to succeed in their own way, in their time, and their success.
I'm wondering how did you approach the broader community and the parent community?
That is so amazing because parents want to be a part of a winning team. They want to be a part of a winning team, whether it's athletics, the arts, academics. Parents want to be a part of a winning team. I know with my son in elementary school, every day he would bring home a smiley face. And if the student brought home a smiley face, then they had a good day. And so we went to parent teacher meeting, and my son's name was on the board in the classroom. And I told my husband, our son is doing so well. His name is on the board. He's bringing home a smiley face every day. And as you know, I'm a teacher. As a parent, I felt we're the parents of this young man. And the teacher, when it was our turn to step to the desk and sit next to the teacher, she said, "Well, what are your thoughts?" I said, "We're so excited. He brings home a smiling face every day. His name is on the board." And she looked at us like we had leprosy. And your son received a smiley face the first day of school. The other days, he received a worm. What? And we all had to, I think we laughed, but to think he recycled that smiley face every day,
I hope
never
nobody calls that
letting,
a soft skill. That's a hard skill.
I did, you know, and he was on punishment for 180 school days. We couldn't go anywhere. He was in the second grade. We couldn't go anywhere because this was just not acceptable. But when you think about it, parents want to be on a winning team.
Yeah.
They want to be a part of the good news. And so it is the job of school to spread the good. And before you get to that ultimate meeting, m- make sure you have multiple conversations with parents. Reach out, talk, communicate. We have a plethora of strategies. And so that has been my secret weapon to make sure our parents are well informed, and bring them to and with them informed. Use the Facebook, use social media, use the district's website to communicate and to make sure your parents know. We did things like make sure we had a parent liaison in every school, a someone who preferably lived in the community so that the parents knew a face that they could come to in addition to the principal. Our outreach was mammoth and massive, and it was a movement for parent involvement. No worms, only smiley faces.
Uh, let's talk a little bit about your book, Setting the Atmosphere. And you describe that it deals with beliefs, practices, and protocols for faith-filled leaders. Well, expand on that a little bit for us, and maybe point us to what it looks like within a school community, at least
I
what
will tell
element
you
of it looks like.
what it specifically looks like. And I go back to that same experience as a classroom teacher, new in the city, and just brand new experience. And the principal passed out the class assignments. And I was teaching second grade, but all of the students were in reading on a pre-primer, well below second grade, kindergarten level. And so I went back to the office and I said to the principal, I said, there's a mistake. It says second grade. I know I'm teaching second grade, but the secretary probably should have put first grade because all the children are reading in on a pre-primer. And she looked at me as if to say, well, I don't want to say what I thought she probably meant, but she looked at me and she said, no, it's no mistake. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? And she looked at me with a tone of voice, hands, arms crossed, teach them. And I
Mm.
thought, teach them? And I went back to my classroom mumbling. She said, teach them. These children are on a pre-primer. She said, teach them. It was Tuesday. I remember it so well. We had Bible study on Tuesday nights. And I went to church and I waited to speak to the pastor. And everybody had a testimony about how God had just blessed them and worked a miracle. And I didn't have a testimony. I had a lament. I had a problem and I needed the bishop to solve it. And so I said to the bishop, I said, Bishop, do you know that the principal gave me a second grade class and they're nowhere near grade level? He looked at me and he said, oh, Sister Wortham, you might as well teach them. And he dismissed me like, you might as well teach them. And I drove home thinking, I know the principal called him. They collaborated, they got together. But no, it was my assignment
Yep.
to teach them. And on that first day of school, those students walked in the classroom and they looked at me as if to say, do you know I can't read? And I looked at them as if to say, I know you can't, but you will. It was through that experience that I accepted that divine assignment to be the educational evangelist. And every day, every time we had to teach a new skill, we gave them mnemonics. Now, I say mnemonics today. I didn't know mnemonics then, but we taught them hand signals like um, details. Details are facts. Facts are things that are true. And we taught them hand signals. They memorized the hand signals. At the end of the year, these second graders on the California Achievement Test, the lowest reading level was third grade, and the highest was 12th grade on the average. That experience taught me about exercising your faith, believing and allowing the spirit of creativity to come forward. I'm still in touch with many of those young people today through Facebook, um, many different ways. Because I believed, it was a forced belief, but because I believed, then it turned my entire career to believe that we have the faith, we have the capacity to change the culture and to make it one of success. One thing that teachers want to know, do you believe in them to be the best educator? When you believe in teachers and we come together and collaborate on strategies, what happens to that atmosphere? It becomes an atmosphere of success. And then that gets conveyed to our young people. So, in setting the atmosphere, I talk about my faith, but I also marry the growth mindset and the philosophy of efficacy so that it is a building of confidence. So then confidence leads to effective effort. That's hard work. That leads to achievement. And it's an upward spiral. So if you're confident in this subject matter, let's try these strategies in another subject matter. If you're confident on the football field, and Lord knows you have to memorize those plays, then it all becomes an upward spiral. It's only when you attack someone's confidence that you nullify their or take away their drive. So then they're not committed, they're not focused, and they don't search for strategies. And that leads to a lack of achievement. So this thing called faith-filled leadership, it has its root in what I believe, actually, yes, but it also goes deep in building confidence. Do you believe? So my job is to make sure the Board of Education believes that we have the best district, and let me show you how. The cabinet believes, let me show you how. The principals believe, the teachers believe. So we walk in this atmosphere of success, of belief that we can. And if we meet an obstacle, it is our response to that obstacle that determines our level of achievement. If we hit an obstacle and we say, oh, well, it's the zip code, then of course you're not going to succeed. But when you reach an obstacle, if you come together and collaborate with others and decide on how we move forward, it's the atmosphere. It's a part of the culture. It's how we operate. It's what we do. It becomes our swagger. I will hire people based on their swagger, based on how they walk into the interview. That's it. I'm the biggest cheerleader for everyone. And that's why I wrote the book. I wrote the book because people always wanted to know how is it that you can go into a district and within the next 2 years flip it and it becomes America's best, because I'm not walking alone.
Mhm.
When I put down those isolation shoes and I picked up the collaboration shoes, I picked up two, I picked up four, I picked up six, more people coming together. When you don't walk alone, you surround yourself with people who believe, let's get it done. Let's do this. And so my faith, I believe, my confidence, I believe.
Powerful. It's going through my mind that you actually had the growth mindset embedded before you got to Carol Dweck's book. She gave
I
you a
did.
language for it, and then you just carried it to the system level.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so amazing that the what confidence will do for you. Confidence will heal your body. Confidence will heal your thoughts. Confidence will manifest your dreams. Things happen twice, once in thought and once in actuality. So if I enable people or help them to subscribe to their dreams, what do you see? What is it that gets you to wake up in the morning and say, yes, it's time to go to work? It is time to work with my colleagues and the students and the administrators. That's a different mindset other than when is the next break?
Before we close out, I'm wondering if you'd think a little bit about the new to the superintendency, new to the district level position folks today, and some words of advice that you might put out for folks who are coming in new.
Wow. I guess it's one word or maybe 3 words. Know your why.
Got it.
Know who you are and whose you are. I did a session for staff members the other day on Long Island, and we all left in tears of joy and celebration and hugging. And you haven't seen anything like this before. And it was about leadership. What is it about your leadership? Now, we could have talked about leadership strategies, and we did. We talked about the law of significance, but also we did a tree of life. We put our hand down on a sheet of paper, and just like in kindergarten, we traced our fingers around, and that became our tree of life. What is it that's in your culture, in your background, that you are ready to give to others? What is it? What's that down on the inside? So know your why. And I'll leave you with this one story. My why actually was gifted to me in high school. My sister Lori was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And when you have multiple sclerosis, sometimes you have the activity of your limbs, and sometimes you are confined to a wheelchair, etc. There were 5 children in my family, mother, father. We don't know to this day why I was deputized to take care of her. Every day after school, I ran home to take care of my sister Lori. Every day. And so the guidance counselor said, one day, she said, the University of Wisconsin is giving scholarships, and we want everyone to go to see the University of Wisconsin on this particular day. On that day, my sister Lori was quite ill, and we had a family meeting, and Lori called me over to her bedside, and she said, Deborah, I want you to go and see the University of Wisconsin. And I want you to promise me, if that's where you want to go to college, if that's where you want to grow and develop, be the best that you can be. We shook on it. We hugged. I got on the bus. University of Wisconsin is 3 hours away from Chicago. And 3 hours later, I get off the bus and I see Dairy Queen. I see ice cream places on every corner and cheese everywhere. This is where I want to go. And so I got back on the bus to go back home and tell my family this is where I want to go. But I wasn't going to tell them about the ice cream and the cheese. I was going to tell them about Bascom Hall and all of the beautiful places in Wisconsin that I wanted to major in education. The ice cream was going to be my secret. So I walked in the house, and all of my aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody was there. And I said, you all are here to hear my answer, because going to college was not an option. Only you had to get a scholarship. That was the mandate, the household mandate. And so they said, well, yeah, we want to hear your decision. But I quickly found out, in addition to them hearing my decision, they were there because my sister Lori had gone on to be with the Lord. And she left me with a search for my why.
Wow.
Be the best that you can be. What does it mean? Here it is. If you're so great, who are you making greater? Who are you making better? So, my why, what I do, why I serve, is because I made a vow to be the best that I can be. And everybody around me, you've got to be forward movement, forward thinking, positive thinking, groundbreaking, boat breaking, net breaking belief that you and everyone around you will succeed. Know your why.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Uh, be, be, Before we close out, what's the easiest way for listeners to follow up with you,
They
find out
can
about your book?
follow. Yeah, my book is on Amazon and all of the normal places. You can get it in 2 days on Amazon. And you can also visit my website, drdeborah.lwortham.com.
We will put your website in the lead into the podcast, make it easier for
Yes,
people to find. Thank you.
thank you.